FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. He's coming in hot today, boys and girls. He's Bob Pollock with the extension. Good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. I want to remind you again, Oakland Avenue, there's a water main break, and the road is all heaved up there, and crews are working. So Oakland Avenue is cut off there before around 10th Street, so you won't be able to get through. You'll need to find an alternative route to get to where you're going here this morning. So if you are headed up there to get yourself something tasty for your morning, you'll have to go in a different direction.
Either way, you'll coming east or going west.
That's right. It's one way or t'other.
Take some side streets.
Our visit with Bob is presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online at marcusandmack.com. So you say the hot thing I need to look up here is gardening trends for 2026.
Yes.
All right. So what am I going to find there?
Well, I don't know. Well, when you get there, you'll start to see. Actually, and there are a number of different organizations or people that will look at, what's trending one way or another for a lot of different things. But today we'll talk about gardening maybe a little bit.
Here's
the
Pennsylvania
one,
Horticulture Society.
Yes, bring that one up.
Okay,
So that's
the one.
Pennsylvania Horticulture Society. Been around for a long, long time.
Their top 10 gardening trends for 2026.
Yes.
Cool. New garden innovations is the first thing on their list.
Yeah. So, that has to do with, they have a picture there of a plant that's glowing in the dark, and it's called firefly petunia. A
firefly petunia. Now, this is all green.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's underlit. Kind of, if you had a light underneath it and it was shining up through the plant, it has that luminescence to it. So they've been able to breed that plant and make it so that it does that.
Wow.
So
you could have a glow-in-the-dark yard.
So for all those folks that are really into something different or something new, something trendy, that can be an avenue to.
Yeah. Now, they also have gardening products like the Second Sand, highlighting how sustainability is shaping everyday garden materials. Climate by Leaf Joy. That's climb it, like climb up a tree.
Yes.
Sustainable climbing poles.
Yes. So if you have vining plants, it's a product that's supposed to be sustainable, and
vining,
and then you can use that to help your plants vine wherever you want them to vine.
And twining, too.
Yes. And that other one you mentioned, the Second Sand, that's products made from recycled glass.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes you can use that instead of using maybe pebbles on the top of containers or areas. You can use the recycled glass to give different colors and things like that.
Now, their second trend of the year for 2026 is something we talked about here with you earlier in last year, and that is rewilding your garden. Gardeners creating intentional natural areas on their properties, which if you don't do it right, it looks just like people saying, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to let it overgrow and turn into something wild.
And in an area like here, where we have a lot more rural area, and we have a lot, people have larger properties. We see that. We even see that on old farmland that isn't, properties that aren't no longer tilled. They just slowly go back to what they were. They might have been woods originally, and then they cleared all the trees and everything off and made fields or pastures, and so the rewilding does have some structure to it, because you don't want non-native species. A lot of times, we have a lot of honeysuckle, invasive honeysuckle, that just
it'll takes
over Multiflora rose is another one
Mm-hmm.
that just can take over areas. So it's not about necessarily just completely letting nature take its course. It is to a large degree, but you manage it to the point where you try to keep out those non-native plants and get it to rewild back with native species, and regenerate it that way.
All right. Here's your third trend.
So that's kind of a interesting thing to do.
Yeah. The rise of gravel gardening.
Yeah. Xeriscapes maybe are a term that you could recall that a lot of times use rock or stone.
That's xeriscaping with an X.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And you can look that up if you want to dive into that. But using, instead of having or mulches, would be the most common thing we utilize, around plants, under plants, to help keep weeds down and add organic matter. But a different take on that is your whole base becomes stone.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the stone you use can vary. You can use, of course, you can get color and texture with stone, because we have all different kinds of stone sources and shapes, sizes. A lot of times we see river gravel, so it's a rounded stone.
Uh-huh.
And of course, there's varying all the way from pea gravel up to, bigger boulders, but they tend to be smoother, rounder, because they've been pulled out of river bottoms and all that, and they've been weathered by the water.
There are a bunch of these trends that they talk about, and we might get to some next week as well. But a couple of that I highlight is fruit growing flourishes. Home fruit growing continues to rise with festivals and dedicated efforts to promote specific fruits. And this is in the South. However, in southern Pennsylvania, there's an annual service berry festival. What is service berry?
So that's a common native tree.
Uh-huh.
It usually flowers here. We'll find it in open fields and woods edges around here, as well as in managed landscapes. And there's several different species and cultivars, but it tends to have a light gray bark, but usually white flowers early in the spring, and then it'll get red berries in the fall, and they are edible. So, and it's a native tree.
Yeah.
So, incorporating and that's a little bit different, because that's typically more of a landscaping shade tree versus a fruiting, what we think of as a fruiting tree, apples, peaches, plums, pears, those. But that whole group of plants is also, that varies, it cycles.
Yeah.
There's interest in it, and then it wanes. Sometimes you start to grow fruit, and then you get into some years where we either get frozen out or mostly frozen out, or we run into a disease or insect problem, and we just get frustrated and give up.
Or it just doesn't produce.
And or we don't have enough time to maintain it, because any of those fruits require regular care and maintenance to keep them productive and healthy, and you just the way it is.
We are looking at gardening trends for 2026 with Bob Pollock this morning, and number 6 on their list is houseplants,
Yes.
a global passion.
So that
evidently, this all began with the pandemic, when people were trapped indoors and didn't have a whole lot that they could do, and they got into houseplants.
Yes, comes back around. People have had houseplants for decades. But sometimes they're in the background. They might be just an accent plant here or there, or somebody gives you something, or you see something to add some interest. But there's a lot of different, the breeders, have introduced a lot of different types of house plants and they might be textural. They might be coarse textured or fine textured. The colors, you can get a lot of different colors, shapes, sizes. There's been a trend towards more miniature type of plants. So if you just have a small space, or maybe it's just a window ledge, a lot of the tropical house plants can get very large. 6, 7, 8 feet tall if conditions are right. Yes, and so there's a variety of them that are now bred to be miniatures. So you can keep them in a small pot. They won't get very big, but they add that accent or interest, and especially this time of year when we tend to have shorter days and more cloudy days and doldrums, the winter doldrums.
When we have a storm coming for this weekend.
So you may have used all that energy and effort and interest outdoors when we can garden outdoors, and so this provides an opportunity to continue that, but do it indoors.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. All right, so those are some gardening trends. Now, of the houseplants, they mentioned some that maybe we're not as familiar with, or I'm not as familiar with. Snake plants, pagoda tower, jewel crown, tiger crown, hedgehog. Those are all plant names.
Yes.
Whatever happened to daisy?
And snake plants. Those are very common and been around a long time. They're just a flat-leafed plant, and you can get them variegated. They can be solid green. They can be variegated with the edges are white and green and yellow and green, and so there's quite a variability there. We tend to grow those in a clump. You usually don't just have one plant, and they will kind of spread on their own.
What I'm looking at there looks like a hosta a little bit.
Yeah. So there's quite variability there, and a lot of those names that you just mentioned are within that specialty group that are smaller, but they have some unique characteristics to them that you might be something of interest you want to add to your collection.
Well, people might not think that this being January, this is the time to think about growing indoors, but why not, right?
Right, why not?
Yeah, just set up your light system with a little bit of education.
Yes.
And Penn State Extension has plenty of online resources to help you do that.
And a lot of times you can select a lot of these plants so that you don't have to have supplemental. A lot of these plants are low maintenance plants, which is okay. It depends on the level, time, and
how much
effort
attention you want to give
attention that you want to provide or have to provide. And so a lot of these are fairly carefree. It just, again, you got to look at the plant. What is this plant? What are its needs from light and water and humidity, and then kind of pick those based on your level of gardening and the location where you have to put them, and go with that.
Just like you and me, a fairly carefree life. Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Fox News on the way.
Question: how do you own a copier? Burger Office Systems knows. You start with questions. What are your current copy machine costs? Your cost per page? Do you own or lease? Burger Office Systems knows what cost effectiveness means. They know that discussing copier care, toner, buy versus off lease, machine options, and purchase agreements can make you want to run and hide, right? The next time the copier demands your attention, call 724-349-3710. Then relax. Burger Office Systems knows.
Chris Savagian built CMS homes from a place of experience, growing up with very little and knowing how much a stable home truly means. That's why every project he takes on is about more than construction. It's about giving people a real chance at comfort and security. If you're ready to move on or need to sell fast, CMS Homes will buy your house in Indiana and the surrounding areas. All cash, as is, no hassles, no repairs, just honest help. CMS Homes, 724-617-8805 or cmshomes.co.
Are you ignoring repeated notices that you owe PA Turnpike tolls? Think it will just go away? Wrong. Unpaid tolls don't vanish. They stack up fast. And so do the penalties. Suspended registration, mounting fines,